Well, it feels like a ThursdAGE to me. There we go.
Sorry.
By the sound of the Windows notification,
The official ThursdAGing tone.
it is. I see our ThursdAgents are lining up.
I mean, maybe you have a computer upgrade that you jack into your wetware so that you know when it's a given date, and that makes a noise that only you can hear.
True, exactly. That's how it happens. I might have said that Malcolm Shepard is a cyborg.
I mean, I am a cyborg.
Yeah. I just don't think we had outed Malcolm yet.
Yeah, but I'm not joking. I'm actually a cyborg.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
By which definition are you? Are you a? What's your percentage of human to robot?
Oh, I'm like 99.99% human, but I do have a lap band. So that is a machine. It is in fact adjustable. You can penetrate the skin and insert or remove saline so as to make it tighter or looser. So I literally have a piece of machinery that was surgically implanted in my body.
Well, one time I swallowed a marble.
I don't think that counts unless it's still in there.
I don't know for sure that it isn't.
If it is, then that means you have developed a gizzard.
Oh, all right. Well, you heard it here first, folks.
You're less a cyborg and more a Troy fowl.
Yeah, right. Exactly. More of a creepy side dish. Snack, maybe? I don't know. So today is ThursdAGE. We are doing something really awesome. We're talking about the Cyberpunk slice for modern age. And we've got a special guest. Why don't I reveal what's behind the modesty shield? Hey, guys. How you doing?
Oh, it's another day,
That was a very Canadian thing I just heard come out of your mouth.
That's great.
Absolutely. So, first of all, Owen Casey Stevens, and I'm your buddy, Disembodied Troy, and we've got Malcolm Shepard. And right now it says Cthulhu Awakens developer. That is true. That is not a lie. But you're also the Cyberpunk Slice developer, yeah?
Well, I'm the modern age developer, and Cyberpunk Slice is a supplement for it. So by the transitive properties of development, I also developed that.
Nice.
I also wrote it with Steve.
That's right. I was going to mention that next. Our pal Steve Kenson, and the two of you just kind of have you have a little finger in kind of all kinds of good stuff, which is to the benefit of the people who are watching right now. Which we call, I don't know if you know this, Malcolm, we call them ThursdAgents.
Yes.
Not thirst agents, but ThursdAgents.
Yes, I see Duke is talking about doing something to a computer that reminds me of when I worked in nonprofit IT.
Oh, yeah? Did you do a lot of mainframe, jacking into the mainframe?
I had to deal with clients who
Well, we can save that for a different Thursday. But yeah, so we're talking about the Cyberpunk slice going off like gangbusters. Is that a thing? People,
I mean,
yeah,
it was a thing. I don't know that it's a particularly modern or cyberpunky thing.
It could be. Jeremiah says excited to get hands-on with Cyberpunk. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so here's the thing. I will tell you this, Malcolm, just to prepare you for some of the enthusiasm. Everybody's like, we want this to be a big thing. They want it to be kind of its own. They don't want to slice. They want the whole pie.
They want the whole pie. Well, making an entire role-playing game takes time and money.
That's true.
Now, the time, I can often find the time. The money, that's up to you, gentle audience.
Yes.
So, and I guess this gets into kind of why it's in this format. So there are a couple of reasons. First of all, is honestly I enjoy working in that size because I did it with the Lost Citadel age conversion book, and I did it with Trojan War, and I really liked doing it with Trojan War, especially with Fantasy Age Trojan War, because you just have a nice no nonsense treatment of one topic. And I also knew that cyberpunk was a hugely popular genre, and I avoided providing direct support in modern age because I thought, well, this might be better as a big book, but if it's a big book, then maybe it should be its own game. And just poking at the question caused some dilemmas, but I finally relented with the idea that we can provide this focused thing now that modern age is, fairly well along in
Mature.
Yeah, it's a mature line now. It has a bunch of hardcovers and you know and more stuff to come and things like that. So it's not going to get overwhelmed by something modest.
Yeah.
However, one thing is that the book specifically says that we're not. I am not promising that we won't do any other cyberpunk stuff. And in fact, of course, there have been cyberpunk elements in what we've done before, with Threefold certainly, and with Lazarus most definitely. But part of that is something, and the companion, the modern age companion, the power set, which is kind of the basis for our treatment of augmentation. Certainly let you do that, but yeah, I think. Okay, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Well, but before we get back on the rails, and by the way, that's this is how we operate off the rails for 1 hour of just. Oh, go ahead. If you remembered.
Well, the thing is that cyberpunk is, the world has very much caught up with the genre in terms of something predictive, right? And even in terms of its aesthetics, because you had a lot of people who are science fiction fans. And the pop culture, of course, affects what they produce, right? Creatively, industrially, in their everyday lives, what they consume. So that process, which is, carrying on in this crazy future shock kind of way in the genre, is also happening in the real world to reproduce the genre. So a lot of elements from it already come up, right? So it's kind of inevitable to have some cyberpunk influence in everything contemporary,
Right.
because that's what real life is like.
Absolutely, it is. A lot of culture jamming going on, and Daniel Atson asks, "Will this new book eventually be available in print?" We will make it available print on demand. It's actually getting worked on right now, and then we're going to release that, and folks can pick it up. And I think maybe a long time ago, folks would get print on demand, and it would be sort of this oddly misshapen sort of collection of little sheaths of paper that were glued weird. No longer. They really have stepped up their game.
Yeah, the pod coming out through DrivethRu is quite good.
Oh yeah,
it really is.
Right.
And so I wanted to back up just a little bit because we have leapt in with both feet, and that's great. But we're talking about why the cyberpunk slice is what it is, without saying what is it. What is the purpose of the cyberpunk slice? Why is it called a cyberpunk slice? And what's it designed to work with?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, part of it is I was visualizing maybe I would do other slices, like a post-apocalyptic slice, and an urban fantasy slice, and a horror slice, but that, again, depends on demand. Right. But it's also to say that this is, a component that can be added to modern age, that can be part of it, that can be a slice of it. And there's no setting, but instead, basically, we have modern age versions of all of the major elements in the genre. To do that means we've had to look at things at kind of a high level. So, for example, it is possible to have body swapping characters and characters who are partially or even completely artificial. However, the rules are very loose in defining what that is. You can be a biological character or you can be a synthetic character. And there are rules for each, but we don't strictly define what biological is versus what synthetic is, except by a set of rules. And we basically go, whatever is in your campaign, whatever set of rules it fits to best, that's what you use. So if you were, say, playing...
Sorry. I'm not sure if you're sliding something around.
An android that is grown, right? Instead of bolted together from metal parts, then you might play an organic character, even though you are synthetic. So we don't, and the same with augmentations, right? They could be biological enhancements, they could be cyberware, they could be having like a little purpose-built colony of nanorobots that go and perform the function. We don't define it that strictly. We leave it to you. And it's the same with, so for the hacking rules, we, sorry, I gotta...
And that's why, yeah. But so hacking rules, that's something we're really interested in.
The hacking rules, we don't have an equipment list in the normal sense where here's your deck and you go do the thing. Instead, we have things called IT assets, which can be hardware or software, which enable your access and have different features to help you out. But you provide the skin for what they represent, and we do have examples. We have the example of a full immersion virtual reality rig, right? Which is, slow and clunky, but it's very robust compared to the other options, right down to having a magic piece of software that will do computer hacking for you.
Okay.
And that kind of brings me to one of the things is Cyberpunk doesn't just have to account for developments in modern technology, but also account for developments in speculation about what the near future will be like. So one of those things is automation, right? Self-driving cars, self-driving aircraft. We already have a lot of self-driving vehicles out there. A lot of technologies for kind of tandem control of devices. So there's a whole rule section on automation, right? Including how to key it to various modes, because if you take automation to its maximum realistic speculation, then it makes a lot of character actions maybe pointless, because we already have firearms that will not discharge a bullet unless the bullet will hit, right? Once they paint the target. So we already have things like smart guns, and we already have the potential for vehicles that will be driven with more expertise than any human, right? So the question is how do you integrate this in a game that is very traditionally, both its literary and game sources, includes a lot of action and a lot of emphasis on individual personal human expertise, right? And we go over a couple of different solutions. First of all is you can have a looser approach, a more pulpy cinematic approach where automation isn't that tough. You can assume that countermeasures are always being employed that kind of even the playing field. So yes, theoretically, you have a gun that never misses, but everybody has something that interferes with the gun that never misses, so you still have to aim it. Right. Or, we do give you the option of we do give you the full gritty option of, a lot of human actions are pointless. If you want.
The existential dread version of Cyberpunk.
Your fears are true. Right. Hey, a quick question. So a lot of folks make the natural kind of connection, given sort of the future tech and all of this stuff, to the Expanse. Does this play well with the Expanse?
Yeah, it's pretty much compatible. I can't speak to expense technology in the books, right? You know, it wasn't written looking at the expanse books and thinking to emulate a particular thing there. However, you should be able to incorporate it into the expanse without much trouble at all.
Right
So,
on.
Given that we got the name right there under your face at the moment, what about incorporating it into Cthulhu Awakens?
Ooh.
Yeah, it should be about the same. I mean, certainly you could use it to represent, you know, weird mythos alien body parts being grafted onto people, or maybe the really elite internet is in the dreamlands, and instead of cyber decks, what we have are these inception-like devices that like put you to sleep and harmonize your alpha waves. Or whatever, I don't know, whatever the waves are that you dream with a lot.
I think you're right. It sounds like alpha waves.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm just making
Oh yeah,
things up.
you could indeed do that. You know, that whole thing.
You could easily have a scenario entitled "Here We Me Go Again" about having minds implanted in different bodies.
Yeah, David Bodie says.
Automating eldritch workings though would be a heck of a thing, right? Because if you can have, you know, if you indeed have a machine that can cast a spell perfectly each time, like cast a mythos sorcery spell or scientific procedure. So as an aside, in Cthulhu Awakens, we have eldritch workings, which, you know, sometimes they're thought of as magic and sometimes they're thought of as technology, but they're neither and both, and ultimately beyond ordinary human comprehension.
Much like this program.
Yeah, but if you have, you know, but yes, you could theoretically combine them and have an AI that just rattles off the like eldritch speech perfectly and opens terrible doors to other dimensions, and that's actually quite frightening.
Yeah. You know, another mention here was the idea of there being, you know, these cyber Cthulhu with metal tentacles or some kind of, you know, demi creature.
Human augmentation, it doesn't need to like take place with human technology, right? And doesn't necessarily have to be applied to humans. So yes, you could do that. You can certainly, you know, for various reasons, wink, wink, this is a popular genre to combine with fantasy.
It is.
And you can do that. And Steve Kenson talked about that. Hacking people with cyberware. Well, there are rules for hacking people's minds. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, let me. We're talking about this question here on the stream. Oh, that's not it. It's this one. Yep, got it. Yeah. So let's. I mean, you know, how does that work?
You could throw something together to make it possible to hack people's augmentations, and there is specific mention of hacking people's minds.
Okay, gotcha.
Basically, the hacking system comes in sort of 3 levels, right? Because, okay, so the classic problem in cyberpunk genre gaming is you have like a very trad adventuring party type team of specialists. And then you have the hacker who just sits somewhere and has a parallel adventure
right
in cyberspace, and occasionally opens doors for people, right?
That's right. They're telling them, go to the right, it's the door on the left. Yeah
like so yes, while you can do the whole parallel adventure thing, we kind of have 3 levels of resolution. The first is you just do one test, right? The second is, you know, advanced and challenge tests, just like or breaching tests in modern age, right? Which is just like in the core rules. But the most complicated stage is when, you know, you decide to do full on, you know, my virtual person is going to attack your virtual person.
Hey, you know,
things, which is possible, right?
Yeah, I love this. I just wanted to scroll back real quick. Derek, the idea of sort of this, I say Giger. I don't know. Is it Geiger? It's the aliens
Well,
artist.
it's our Giger.
Giger, yeah, yeah. That I love that aesthetic. It's just very creepy, and I just now I see it, and I want to go to there. Forrest Phillips says we started our Neon Shadows game last
Yeah,
night.
that's based on that article that Steve wrote about
Nice.
doing fantasy.
And Forrest, you were inspired by Steve, I'm presuming. Let us know in the chat, but that was very evocative and it was a lot of fun to kind of imagine that. And so Derek says, put him in a mech, hacking from inside your walking
We do
techno.
have rules for powered armor.
Okay.
That are a little more involved in no giant robots, but certainly there are rules for 2 different types of exoskeletons, and how to operate them. They're they're a little. They do vary from the ones in the Expanse and the ones that we've had in Threefold, because there is like a suit of powered armor in Threefold, and this is a little more of a detailed treatment.
Okay. Now, do you want to walk us through sort of the book from end to end? How many pages do we have?
60.
Nice. And then, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so chapter 1 is all about making characters, and we do provide options for backgrounds and professions that fit the genre and new ones, as well as drives. And of course, we have some new focuses. For example, there's accuracy virtuality, which is accuracy when it comes to virtual objects and things on computer screens. So if you were an esports pro or neo, you would take accuracy virtuality, right? And we have some focuses involving drone weapons and synthetic life and so on and so forth. In talents, there are a couple of new things of note. For example, we have a talent devoted to making the best use of your augmentations in combat, the cyber combat style. And we have, repairing robots and people.
Okay.
Operating drones. Also, a fighting style in case you want to exploit the disadvantages of enhanced humans and robots.
Okay. Now explain that a little bit.
Well, I mean, this is someone who, the idea is that you have, you have trained to do things like, aim for little hoses and electronics and
sure,
right?
Sure.
And then under specializations, we have a number of options. And, if you want to become like a completely, one of them would be your major Kusanagi full conversion cyborg. And we have ones for, futuristic criminals and street mercenaries and all of that, all cleaving to the classics. When we get into equipment, there's a whole bunch of equipment, from drones to weapons to detailed rules for how automation works at different levels. My favorite bit is I provided some guidelines for how branding works. And this is a personal thing of mine because brands are a big thing in the cyberpunk genre.
Yeah.
They're used as a shorthand for visual description, right? And of course, in cyberpunk settings where corporations are so huge, right? These brands have a presence. So I wanted so basically we repurposed the reputation rules from modern age and apply them to brands. So, if you perform proper product placement in play, then you gain the reputation advantage.
That's cool. Hey, Jeremiah McCoy asks a question here that I think is very interesting. Anything along or that would lend itself well to like AI companions that are kind of in your headwear? I need some headwear, like not a hat, but like some
No, I'm
programming.
not a whole smart person, but you could make a character who doesn't have a body. The rules do support that. Who
Don't you
doesn't have
dare.
a regular body.
Gotcha.
But if you wanted to put a whole consciousness that can't do anything,
We're thinking more of like an animal companion. You know what I mean? Like, the Jeremiah was kind of talking about like a pet or maybe an internal voice that's sort of like Siri or something.
oh, Cortana.
Yeah, Cortana. Yeah, exactly.
Cortana. Yeah.
Well, we have a long tradition of disembodied characters on this show.
Yeah. Well,
That's
actually,
true.
does anybody watch the Halo series?
Yeah, I'm watching.
Oh, I have not watched it yet.
Yeah, Cortana is actually incredibly dangerous on that show.
Yeah, I think currently she is the most effective character.
Yeah,
she is certainly the most reliable character.
I wish I could describe why, but it's a spoiler.
Gotcha.
But it's fantastic. So yes, I mean, if you have a voice if someone has a voice in their head, and it doesn't do anything but talk, then it's not necessarily a game mechanical thing, but it's a thing that is acceptable. Acceptable to have as a bit of color or flash. If, however, the voice inside one's head knows things and is different than the character performing various things, then yeah, that gets a little involved. And no, we did not cover that base.
Gotcha.
But I guess what I would say would be, I guess it would be the same as swapping bodies, except the target body still has another person in it. So I'm just wondering how much capacity that would cost. So basically, the way all this stuff works is that you have something called a capacity rating, which is basically how much augmentation you can stand before complications occur, right? And the nature of these complications is left to the GM in the game. One of the things but first, one of the principles is there are a series of things that do not count as enhancements. So, if you decide to change your secondary sex characteristics, for example, that doesn't cost any capacity, and that's not an augmentation. It is just changing yourself to be how you feel like you are. And it's not something that is a stressor on the self, right?
Gotcha.
So this is only for stuff that gives you something that is more game identifiable, say. So basically, if you want to create something new, what you do is you just figure out its capacity, and that's how much it is. And if people can take it, they do. But generally, a capacity slot is like equivalent to an ability point or a focus or a talent degree, right? And you can kind of trade them off. Though we have different levels of baselines we recommend. With the basic one, I think you get like one capacity slot for free, right? But if you want everybody to be enhanced, like if you're talking about a late Ghost in the Shell scenario, right?
Yeah.
People are going to have everybody's going to be walking around maybe with 2 slots starting out, right? Because, it's a future where everybody's brain has been surgically modified, right? And people routinely have artificial limbs that respond to direct neural input and things like that, right?
Go ahead.
Could you see if this product is particularly popular doing something like Cyberpunk a second slice and taking some of the concepts you didn't get into and diving a little deeper?
Well, if it comes to that, then I think it's time to have a conversation about doing the Cyberpunk RPG.
Right.
RPG. I have a couple of ideas for that because I'd like to do something other than straight Cyberpunk, but something that supports Cyberpunk. Because there are some great Cyberpunk settings out there already. Including the game named Cyberpunk.
That's true. That is true. Hey, a question. Oh, and did you have another?
Yeah,
Go for
you
it.
mentioned that there's no setting in this book, and we talked about Steve having put up an article. Do you foresee the Cyberpunk slice being added to the things that people can access for the Age Creators Alliance? And if that happened, which I realize is not your call, but you would have input on, do you feel like that would be a good place for someone to, for instance, put together, hey, here is my Cyberpunk setting, it uses a slice, and this slice I'm going to go ahead and define for this setting what are the consequences of exceeding your capacity, and exactly what are the assumptions, and bake that in and hand it out to people.
Oh yeah, I think it would be cool. I would definitely go for it, and it's along the lines of the kind of things we want to see from the program. So
Right.
Has that conversation happened yet?
It's happening right as I'm typing it.
I see. Okay. Folks, here's the conversation. Do you think you want more Cyberpunk a slice in your ACA? Let us know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, there are a lot of companies out there where this kind of stream and stuff is really like a manufacturing consent kind of thing, where everything's already been planned. This is not one of those, and we're not those kind of people.
No. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's like, oh, you want what?
Oh, okay. Sure.
Green Ronin is already a distributed company, right? We are used to getting together and doing things virtually for our meetings and our organizations and our I don't think there are more than 3 of us in the same city, certainly not in the same house.
Well, Seattle's lousy with them. The Pacific Northwest is lousy with Ronins.
Well, yes, the Pacific Northwest is a region, but I bet if you go down to actual city lines, you will find that some are in Renton and some are in Redmond and some are in Bellevue. And
I know exactly where we all are, but I'm not going to say because the paparazzi. I've just shaken them off after my move, and we don't want to.
Well, that's okay. We'll just hack your server and get your secret list of things that you could have just written down on a piece of paper.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. My recipes. Hey, so I have a question real quick about, when I think of Cyberpunk and I think of all of the, sort of the flashy stylistic stuff that I love, but also that technology versus when you're using this, how much work has gone on in the design of it to sort of compensate for that. Like, I've got all the things. I've got 5 eyeballs and 40 guns, and they're coming out of my,
Well, the very common way to deal with this is to have the other guys have those same advantages, right?
I see.
This is often a thing in games where the characters have these enormous advantages compared to the baseline. And it's true for any genre, right? Like, it's kind of like, well, I've got all these superheroes and mutants and masterminds. How do I devise challenges for them? Well, you could give some bad people, let's say villains, superpowers.
Right.
Be called supervillains.
That
would be pretty challenging. And
like
it's the same thing, right?
Another way you can do that if you want to, if you're creating your own setting, is to do something like say, hey, everyone that we expect to get in combat has combat aids that tells you where to shoot, where to hide, where to miss, and how to dodge. Mm-hmm. So that's baseline. And then someone can have the disadd, no built-in combat system, so that person is more vulnerable. But everyone else has it. So instead of giving absolutely everyone +3 on all combat-related checks, we just say, hey, you've all got it. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, that costs you something.
I don't mean to laugh while you're talking. I'm not laughing at you, my friend. I am.
I know exactly what you're laughing at.
There are a couple of things in the Modern Age Mastery Guide that are helpful there as well, where they talk about scaling things by level. We have a couple of options for making certain offensive and defensive options more powerful as you go up in level, because of course one of the things with age is once you get past its sort of primary sweet spot, you do have people that are very easily able to hit each other frequently, and then it becomes kind of a war of attrition. So we do have some options where you can tap certain stunts to do more damage or give you a higher defense bonus and so forth, right? That incidentally is one of the things we've been noodling around with to, deal with some of the damage stuff, right? But ultimately, what happened is eventually we got together and we did some math to figure out what the threshold to keep damage balance was, and then the answers were used as inputs in some of the class redesigns for Fantasy Age, and
that's such hard baked into the new Fantasy Age. Yeah, and it's Malcolm keeps saying we, and he largely means he, but yes,
that was you though. That was you. You did the class redesigns though.
But yeah, that stuff's hard baked in there, and I can see taking all the age systems can be treated as toolkits for people that want to put together a game that does exactly what they do. I suppose we should someday put together the all age toolkit that literally talks about bringing elements from different age systems together and why they work the way they do and how to tweak them.
Now, another thing, Troy, is with that question, what do you do with these two like super tough, what do we do with two super tough characters? Well, sometimes they're not necessarily super tough. They are powerful offensively, and then you kind of have the, glass cannon problem, right?
Right.
Where I can do a gajillion hit points or a gajillion health or a gajillion fortune and in damage, and I only have 10 points myself, right? And everybody can instantly inflict lethal force on everybody else, right? And there are a number of ways to deal with that. We do aim for a little bit of balance as far as that goes in Age. However, I don't want to adulterate it too much because it also represents a real tactical problem that is fun to deal with, right? Like one of the biggest lessons that I think needs to be learned in a lot of modern gaming is that it's okay to run away and take cover.
Yes.
And that, that is an expected part of combat instead of, it's like medieval combat, except instead of bows, you have guns, right?
Right.
That's an entirely legitimate point. And I think that people are sort of used to thinking of their characters as being little mobile armored pillboxes. And there are games where that's the case, but in modern Age in particular, people tend not to just take machine gun fire and rocket launchers on the chin. There's reason that we had trench warfare and foxholes and tactical learning where you clear your corners, and I think all of that can be important and relevant.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I wanted to just get into. I just got the word because Troy clacked away and we reached a rapid behind-the-scenes consensus. Yes, the Age Creators Alliance is going to include material from Cyberpunk Slice. So
cool.
And yes, it would be cool to see adventures and settings and things like that.
I just want to say to Jeremiah,
who is literally chanting, "I don't need another project."
You do need another project. You've got another project. You've got another project. So there you go. That is fresh off the just fresh out the shoot, the idea shoot, the permission shoot. Actually, sorry, that was I get my shoots confused. But
don't ever get your shoots confused, Troy. That's important.
Yeah, it can be messy. But what I love is the stand shoot, because oftentimes what comes out of it is unexpected but delightful. I would say probably all the time, really. Here we go.
Here we have some art from our good friend and fellow game designer Stan, also a tremendous cartoonist. So yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Here's a cyber slice.
Yeah, Malcolm's.
they don't talk about food very much in the cyberpunk genre nowadays. They used to. It used to actually. It's like there are a bunch of asides in like Islands in the Net and Neuromancer, right? Where they just talk about the garbage everybody is eating,
Right.
or in Islands in the Net, like one person is like a health food fanatic, except in Islands in the Net, it's a dystopian future. So the food this person eats is actually entirely artificial, and that's their health food.
I want to before you go, I want to drop this, but I really want folks to zero in on the expression on Malcolm's face. You really caught the essence of Malcolm. I love it. Sort of a very serious, like, here's your cyber cake. I love it.
Before we get too far from it, I want to carefully note out that Jeremiah also says that we've got some Age of advocates on TikTok, including a number of the Bigger Talk people who are fans.
That's true. Yeah.
If there are people that you think we don't know about who are Age advocates on TikTok, Jeremiah, I would ask you to do us a favor and grab links and send them to let's play at greenranine.com. So
I'll do you one better. You
Okay.
find us on the TikToks.
Yeah, there
Send
you
us
go.
a message, and we'll some disembodied nerd will be like, "Yay!" and we will pursue new friendships with reckless abandon.
I've been using it to watch boxing and cute animals like a fool, and I could have been using it to look at this stuff there.
So,
Yeah.
when making a game is your job, sometimes you need to look at boxing and cute animals as your hobby, right? You need some time away now and then.
That's right. A little escape.
I have not gamified sumo, of which I am a big fan, in part because I want sumo to remain something I am merely a fan of, rather than something I am trying to figure out what kind of expertise and study and assistance I would need to appropriately and respectfully make any game elements out of it.
Oh,
Jeremiah says me and GM Jordan are fans and often shout it out. So I'm wondering if I found you. I may have. Also, we're just ramping up. We've got some big plans, of course, and a lot of fun stuff. Right now, what we're doing is finding the key, the marquee moments in our years of streaming that we've got under our belt now, and kind of farming that for some interest and fun stuff. Is there a hashtag for Age TikTok? It is hashtag Adventure Game Engine. I just made that up.
On how to RPGify sumo now.
Oh,
Someone has rejected it. There's my way in. Like what you could do is actually come with a fantasy form of wrestling, like say something based on like Icelandic, like Gleam or something like that. But what you do is you place it in a different cultural milieu, because the thing that interests me about sumo, there's a technical side. I do some fighty stuff, right? As a hobby, but also there's an enormous amount of like prestige politics around it, right?
Yep.
And seeing something that did that would be fantastic. And then of course you kind of end up with something that is like, well, that ends up very much like pro wrestling too.
Yeah, I mean the similarities between they're very, very, very different, and I'm not going to say otherwise.
Yeah.
We might want to have you on to a sumo show at some point, Malcolm. But the similarities in things like fan bases and fan groups and the politics behind the scenes between pro wrestling and sumo, and for example, football and baseball, where there are certain megastars who can have, they make more money outside of their sport than they do inside their sport.
Yeah.
That is all. And since we're supposed to be talking about Cyberpunk, and you were talking about having branding as an appropriate reputation option, that is exactly the sort of thing I could easily see putting in a Cyberpunk game where, maybe, yes, you are just a hacker or just a bodyguard or just a hired thug, but you are a particularly popular hired thug who uses a specific combat schema that you then can sell books about or downloads, I suppose, because people get to see it get used in real time. So you're right. Absolutely, the way to use those things is to take it in and then recontextualize
it. Can sell their skills directly because they can record the actions of their central and peripheral nervous systems while they're fighting, and sell it.
Interesting.
In fact, you could sell specific moments, right? It's not just my punch. It's I have recorded this moment where I punched this fascist in Hitler cosplay, and I'm only going to sell that to one person. So anyone can buy my punch, but if you want to buy this moment as a reaction,
ooh, that's cool.
Remember, I actually read a story in like I think Asimov's in like late 80s, early 90s. Was Asimov's around in the 90s? Anyway, yes. What it was is that like it was future basketball, but all the players wore these exoskeletons and they downloaded the greatest plays, right? So there was one guy who like basically he blew, this player blew all his money on like Jordan's signature alley-oop, right? And and the thing is that everybody hated him because he destroyed that moment, right? He destroyed that action as this legendary thing because he can do it every single time,
right?
I mean, I think we can easily call these non-fungible tactics and talk about the horrible social and economic downside of selling this moment where I did this cool thing and now it's monetized.
You could make up bespoke stunts and then lock them out.
Yeah. That's so great.
Man, I wish I had that idea.
Derek.
This is a Green Renine show, so that idea is available for you to play with now.
Yeah. That's right. That is actually right. So Derek, you've inspired this whole line of feature. And he says, "Killing me, Owen." I love it. Okay, so one of the things we can't go this whole show without mentioning that right now we've got the Cyberpunk slice. It's up $12.95. It's what we said, 60 pages.
Yeah,
the art is tremendous. It's filled with genius. It is super fun. And if you're waiting to pick up some other modern age stuff, we're doing a modern age sale to celebrate the Cyberpunk slice. And if you use the code Modern Age 15, you will get 15% off of all the rest of the line. Like you can add all the modern age stuff that you could fit in your cart, and you will be able to get discounts. So use Modern Age 15 for that 15% off, and then you can pick it up right now. You can go grab the Cyber Slice. Jonesy's just dropped a link in the chat because he is a link wizard, and go check it out. I mean, I love the cover art. Like, I want to get that framed. It's just incredible. And as far as the POD, and everyone's asking about this, the timing on that is a little fungible. So rather than kind of commit, rather than commit to, we don't want to break any hearts. We've been hurt before, so we're gonna wait until that's all ready to go. But it's being prepared now. It'll get shipped over to made available through DrivethruRPG, and you can get the POD. So not long, but yeah.
And to be specific as to why it's like that, basically, we don't sell a thing until we get a physical proof that shows us it's not all screwed up. So that has to be, printed and delivered and the whole shebang.
And currently, paper is having a shortage. Shipping is messed up. There are a spectacular and unexpected set of, we'll call them challenges, to actually putting a physical game book in anyone's hands.
Yeah, and I have to give it to the operations side of the company for really doing the best they can. One of the things I think that we often have a tendency to do is, not talk about the internal process, and because we like things to be frictionless for you on the other side, right? We like it to be this pure experience of you want the thing and you get it. So when there are problems, sometimes we don't talk about them so much because we don't want to ruin that experience. But the way things have been lately, we have. I think we've made the right decision in disclosing some of these things because yes, some printers are getting especially printers who specialize in some things that are very handy for us. Are getting very busy, or they're not practically used, or the shipping is just
over. Yeah. Well, as far as like,
right,
and even looking at the schedule of things, there are people now who are just booked for printers that are booked till the end of the year.
Yeah.
And that's just
and arguably we could have not put the PDF up until the print on demand was ready. But the problem is that means that this PDF, which a lot of effort and time was going into, isn't doing the company any good until it's available. And all we're doing is preventing the people that want the PDF from being able to get it until the print product is ready. So rather than look all smooth and pre-prepared and having everything ready all at once and holding it back, we gave you all the opportunity to buy it now. And that just means we don't know for sure yet when the print on demand will be demanded.
But it's working. It's working this way.
It's totally happening as soon as we can make it happen. I mean, as of time of this show, this product is the number 2 product on Drivethru, on all of Drivethru.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to make it.
Thank you, everyone.
Is it number 1 right now?
It's 2 right now.
Number 2
right now.
Nice.
So
nice.
Go buy it and drive us to number 1.
That's right.
And give us money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, and we definitely, part of the reason why we like to let you look behind the curtain is because we are developing a tabletop roleplay game. It's called TTRPG Developer Slice, right? Isn't that what we're...
I can't. I had a whole bunch of things I was about to say, and none of them sound good. So I'm just not going to say them.
I had the same. I really had to meter myself on that one. But so I cannot believe it. We are out of time. It is already almost 3.
Let me take the book first, though, Troy.
I was going to say, why don't you do that?
All right. If you want to do more in the cyberpunk genre and you want to mash it up with things, the books that I would recommend for Modern Age Beyond the Core would be The Companion, because though the power set rules are kind of the spine that was used to spin off into that threefold, because that's where the capacity concept comes up. And there is basically a third of the setting is like weird cyberpunk with alternate universes. And, there's a prefab organization. And of course, the other big cyberpunk setting or cyberpunk adjacent setting we have is is World of Lazarus, based on the comic series, right? And those have talents for if you want really over-the-top enhanced humans. I designed the Lazarus talents, and they are more powerful. So, that was the intent in that book. But there's also other stuff there, and a lot of conceptual things that contributed both to Cyberpunk Slice and can enhance what's in it. So there's a lot of support out there.
Nice.
And to be clear, you only need the Modern Age core book to use the Slice. The rest of this is just extra toppings for your pizza, but the pizza will still exist.
Yes.
That's right. And be delicious, or the cake, if you will. Yeah.
Or the pie. It could be gamer pie.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Gamer pie. Very excited about this. I've been poring over the document since it was made available, the PDF. People are really loving it. It's definitely something that people are enjoying. What I want to encourage people to do is, as you sort of unpack your cyberpunk adventure, tell us about it. If you're going to do a stream, let me know, and we will, share it and show it, and maybe even show up to it, and maybe we'll box up a Malcolm and send him over to your house with some cyber pie.
That's a good observation for Titan's Grave.
Yeah, Titan's Grave.
We haven't been able to do anything with Titan's Grave. We still love it.
And
it's still there, and we still encourage you to go get it and check it out, because it's a very special setting. It's super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stan, wise words, sharing that there are many types of slices in the gamer pie.
But I think for a Cyberpunk game, Troy, we would not box up and send Malcolm. We would either clone him or make a digital equivalent and send an Malcolm.
Wouldn't that be funny if we just sent a bunch of floppy disks? Here you go. Just a stack. 80 floppy disks. I'm thinking that would fit.
I remember playing, video games recorded on a cassette recorder on a TS-80. So
really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I remember them on the Apple II.
Yep. I did that too. Yeah. Go West.
Yeah. Oh man. Now I want to play Bard's Tale.
A little more modern, but yes, also a good game.
When I was younger, I played Pong with my dad, but he would win, but he would play with his foot. So
we had a Pong machine. That was when people say, "What was your first home game console?" They never have the Pong set. That is what my family actually had.
That's right. This is, oh, look at that. The things you say, all you folks out there. And Green Ronin is the whipped cream on top of that gamer pie. This whole line of thought is distressing, yet so kind.
This is bringing us back to jacking into the mainframe, is it?
It is. We are there. We have gone full circle. The circle of life, if you will, because our program is done for this day. Malcolm, thank you for hanging out. Malcolm, really appreciate the view into the Cyberpunk slice. Love it. Phenomenal work. People are really enjoying it and enjoying talking with you always. We are tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m., 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's right. 8 p.m. Eastern. We are having the finale of our 3-part stream. In actuality, it was maybe like 7 parts because we had him on a couple ThursdAGEs and talking about all the good stuff with Ian Lemke, who's the GM. Tomorrow, our friends from Abraxas Precipice and Fresh Out the Box. They're one crew, and they're running through the final part of their campaign. They built the system. They've got a colony that they are managing, and they're like in this muddy planet, and these creatures and stuff's going down. It is pretty darn exciting. So check that out. And hey, do me a favor, wherever you're at, take a look. Are you on Facebook? Are you on YouTube? Are you watching from, you could be watching from Twitter. We are everywhere. Or are you on Twitch? Depending on those venues, would you do me a favor and subscribe? Give us all the thumbs, or if there's some star system there, give us every star that you've got. And all of the things apply. If you leave a note, that always helps. But yeah, we want to, sort of tackle that algorithm, and so your comments, your follows, your and your shares too. Share it with a friend. Do that, and we will be very, very appreciative. And Derek says, another brilliant ThursdAGE, y'all.
Well, thank you, sir.
I agree. Thank you all for being awesome in the chat. We truly enjoy this. And yeah, we really do have a lot of fun. And we will see you again with our next program tomorrow. That's at 5 p.m. That'll be The Expanse Beyond the Ring actual play. It's going to be a blast. Make sure you check, literally, I think. And then on Monday, Mutants and Masterminds Monday, with Crystal Fraser, Steve Kenson, Alex Thomas, and myself. We just have a lot of fun. We would like you to join us. All right. Anything else you'd like to share, Malcolm or Owen?
Nah.
Nah, that works too. That's right, everybody. Yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow. We're going to have a blast with this actual play. And, in the meantime, have a great rest of your day and take care. Bye.